Hello, my name is Mohammad Saquib Nawaz. I'm a student of Techno India University pursuing BTech CSC AI, and today I'm going to present a brief discussion on the topic shifting all the element of a single dimensional array k places to the left hand side with rotation. Here's the first slide, as you can see, which is containing my topic and my subject name. Let's move on to the next slide, which is about me, containing my full student detail, as you can see over there. So now let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so the next slide is the content page. In the content page, these are the topics or the subtopics, you can say, which we are going to discuss in this presentation. So the topics are introduction to 1D array, types of methods. There are basically 4 types of method by which we can solve my problem, or the topic, you can say, by which we can solve it. Okay, now the algorithm and logic chosen by me. So there are 4 topics. I have chosen one for presenting for discussing the whole presentation for the whole topic, and in the last section of the in the ending part, we are going to discuss all the rest in short. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide, discussing the introduction to 1D array. 1D array, also known as a single dimensional array, or you can also know, it is also known as linear array, is a data structure that stores a number of elements of the same data type in a sequential order. Okay, so each elements of the array contain a unique index number starting from 0, and it will go to n minus 1, where n is the limit of the array. Okay, limit of the array, number of element you can store in it, that is n. So let's move on to the next slide. As you can see, the next slide is of types of method for solving my problem. So there are 4 types of method. One is the 1x1 rotation method, in which you can see I have got tick mark. So the whole presentation will be discussed on this particular topic in briefly. Then the second one is the reversal method, then juggling method, and then temporary array method. So let's move on to the next slide, let's discuss on 1x1 rotation. Basically, 1x1 rotation is a method in which simple भाषा में समझाए तो 1x1 rotation, this is the first one, first element, second, third, fourth, fifth. I am taking a 5 element I am storing in a one array. Okay, so 1x1 rotation means I will be picking this element, I will be selecting this element, and I will be just moving it to the last index number, which is 4. The fourth one will be go to the third will be go to the second one will be go to the first, and first will go to the index position. Okay, this is how the 1x1 rotation will perform. I have also prepared a logic part, prepared a slide for the logic purpose. Let's move on to the logic, and you can briefly understand the logic behind it. So in this logic part, basically there are 3 steps. Okay, first step is to create an array and store the elements in it. The second step is to create a single function, in which we will be performing this. From here it will be going to the last. Only this perform I will be performing in a single function. And as you know that my project is, or my topic is, k number of times, or the k elements. So for that purpose, in step 3 I have written that I am going to make another function that will repeat the function which is being defined in step 2. So I will be just making another function which will be calling the function that is mentioned in the step 2. So just I will be calling that function, and k number of time it will be taking places. It will be called k number of times, and then I will be printing my final array. So here's the algorithm behind it. So for algorithm purpose, generally we know that the first and the last step of the algorithm is start and stop. Between those between those steps, we are going to write all the algorithm part. Algorithm is basically human language steps for performing the C code or any kind of code. Okay, so the second step or the first step you can say is create functions. The functions are already written, then we will be input and store the elements for the rotation purpose. Will be also input and store the number of times we are going to rotate the position for the rotating purpose. Then we are going to create another. So in the fifth step we are going to call rotate by 1, and in the sixth step we are going to call the rotation purpose. So let's move on to the next slide, discussing the function prototypes. These are the function prototypes, as you can see, which is void create, void input, void display, void rotation by 1, and void rotation. The main function is void rotation by 1 in this whole program. Okay, so here's are the syntax of each of the following, as we have discussed. Each of the function prototypes, here are all the syntax of those functions. So as you can see here, in one screen, in one position I have taken a void create and void input, and beside that I have just pasted the picture of void display. Here's void rotation by 1, the main function, and void rotation, in which you can see that I'm just calling the void rotation, I'm just calling the rotation by 1 k number of times. You can see in for loop I'm just initializing I, which is lesser than k, so k number of times it will be performing. Here's the main function. Main function, already you know that in main function we are going to call each and every function. We are going to input and we are taking the output from the main function, and each of the following functions are going to be called in main function. So let's move on to the next slide, which is program. So the C programming. The C programming is in which you can see that I have written all the C programming code. I have mentioned that due to the smaller font or the smaller font, I have just mentioned each and every part, especially. Okay, this is the output for my C programming code. Okay, so as you can see over here, I'm just the original array is 1 2 3 4 5. After we are inputting the position, enter the number of position to rotate. So just I'm 3. So see, 3 numbers from the first, which is 1 2 and 3, they are coming back, and the starting is 4 5, then 1 2 3. See, and the second one is also the same. Now the time complexity for the best case in this algorithm is over n, is n. Okay, the worst is k into n, k cross n, which is k into n, means the number of this one, number of times the k will be rotating, the number of position fill, then n times. If k, when the best case is when k equals to 1, and the worst case is when k is the fifth element or the last index number. Okay, the average one is k into n. Same. As I said earlier, that I am going to make a brief, or not brief, a short introduction. I am going to give you the shorter one introductions of those 3 one. So this is the one, the reversal algorithm. It is nothing very fastest algorithm, you can say, for this type of code. Okay, this type of algorithm is generally performed in hackathons, or you can say in coding competitions, or in interviews also it is being asked. This is the juggling algorithm. Juggling algorithm basically uses GCD. The logic of GCD is being used in the juggling algorithm. And the last one is temporary array method. Temporary array is generally we are having a array. So it is an array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another array will be creating, which is temporary, this one. So if I am selecting 2, k equals to 2, then which means first two element of this number, first two element of this array will be just, I am just transferring this, I am just moving this element to this one, to the temporary array. So these are the first two elements of this. So we are just converting it, and then we are going to append it like this. It will be appending it like this. Okay, this will be appended, and we are going to get my final answer. So thank you for my video. Hope it will be very useful to you. Thank you.